let's take a look at today's lesson. And this is actually multiplying matrices. And this is your next step up from yesterday's lesson. There's none of the distributing today. Multiplying matrices, there's a lot of little tricks involved, so make sure that you are paying attention, rewinding the video if you have to. So the first thing that is important with multiplying matrices is simply determining if it is even possible. So let's take a look at what are the rules for can we actually multiply. And the rule is the number of columns of the first matrix must equal the number of rows of the second matrix. So let me simplify that a little bit. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to find the dimensions. So matrix number 1 is going to have dimensions m by n. The second matrix is going to have some other set of dimensions. Let's just say a by b. You will know that you can multiply if these two numbers right here match. That's the easy explanation. Because this is the column of the first one, and this is the row of the second one. So if those match, you can multiply. Well, then the next question becomes, what are the dimensions? So we now need to know what are the dimensions of the actual result. Like once we do the multiplying, how big is that answer going to be? So here's your rules for that. It is the number of rows of the first matrix and the number of columns of the second matrix. Well, again, let me use my little example up here. If these guys match, you can actually do the problem. The size of the answer are these guys over here. The answer is going to have this first number of rows and the very last number of columns. And so that at least gives you an idea of how to know if it's possible and what are the answer size. And so that's going to be the first thing we're going to do. First example, we simply want to know, is this a possible multiplication problem? And if so, what are the dimensions? So let's look at this first problem. This has 2 rows and 1, 2, 3 columns. The second one has 1, 2, 3 rows and 1, 2 columns. So remember, to be possible, these two must match. And in fact, they do. So then these two guys, that is the size of your answer. So let's do the same thing with B. 1 row, 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, 1, 2, 3 rows, and 1 column. So again, look at these guys here in the middle. Problem is though, this time they don't match. So if you have a problem like this on your homework and they don't match, all you simply say is not possible. And that is a perfectly legitimate answer for your homework as well. So now that we know how to determine if we can multiply, now we actually have to look at the rules for how to multiply. So the first step, determine if you can multiply, and if it's possible, find the dimensions of the answer. That's what we just reviewed. Step number 2, this is where it gets a little tricky. You're going to match each row, and remember rows go this way, of the first matrix with each column, and columns go this way, of the second matrix. You're going to match each row with each column. This is a process. When you match a row and a column, you're going to multiply the paired numbers and then add the results. The easiest way to explain this is with an example. So let's take a look at the first example. We'll go slow, we'll keep them small. So first things first, dimensions. 1, 2 rows, 1, 2 columns. 1, 2 rows, 1, 2 columns. Those guys match. That's the size of our answer. Here's what I always tell students. Make a matrix with some fill-in-the-blank problems. We need 2 rows and 2 columns. And yes, these are going to be big spots. 1, 2, 1, 2. This is going to be our work matrix. We'll have an answer matrix after this. So I'm going to use colors to help us out. I'm going to circle always a row in the first matrix and a column in the second matrix. So top row, first column. Okay, top row, first column. Now notice in each circle there are 2 numbers. We're going to pair those numbers up. The first number here is going to be paired with the first number here, and they're going to be multiplied. The second number here is going to be paired with the second number here, and they're going to be multiplied. Where are we putting this work? Well, the key was the location. Top row, top row, first column. Top row, first column. This is where we're going to put our work. So 2 gets paired with 0 with multiplication, and 1 gets paired with 2 with multiplication, and then you will always put a plus sign there. Now, I'm going to erase these bubbles because I want to use a new color. I'm going to keep the top row, but now I'm going to move to the right column. So top row, right column. This is where my work is going. 2 gets paired with 1 with multiplication. 1 gets paired with 5 with multiplication. And then we're going to put a plus sign between them. Okay, new color. Now I'm switching to the bottom row, left column. So bottom, left. This is where my work is going. 4 is paired with 0, and 3 is paired with 2. Put a plus sign between them. I'm going to erase these colors. Whoops, wrong button. I'm going to erase those again. Use one last pair of colors. Bottom row, right column. Well, there's only one spot left for that. So 4 is paired with 1, and 3 is paired with 5, with a plus sign. Now, all we have to do is actually find the answers. 2 times 0 is 0. 1 times 2 is 2. 0 plus 2 is 2. Let's make your life easy. Pick up your calculators. In your calculator, 2 times 1 plus 1 times 5. You should get 7. And your calculator, 4 times 0 plus 3 times 2. You should get 6. And your calculator, 4 times 1 plus 3 times 5. You should get 19. So these require a whole bunch more work than you're probably used to. Colors will be helpful. It's helpful if it helps you to erase as you go. You can erase your circles. Let's take a look at another problem. So first we need to start with the dimensions. 1, 2, 3 rows, 1, 2 columns. 1, 2 rows. 1, 2 columns. Those match. You have 3 rows and 2 columns in your answer. So 1 row, another row, another row. Okay. Top row, left column. So top left corner is right here. -1 times 4 plus 5 times 6. New color. Top row, right column. So I'm moving top right over here. -1 times -3, 5 times 8. Okay, new color. Moving down in the world. Middle row, left column. So middle left is right here. 5 times 4 plus 2 times 6. New color. Stay in the middle. Move to the right. 5 times -3 plus 2 times 8. New color. Bottom left. 0 times 4 plus -4 times 6. And one last pair. Bottom right. 0 times -3 and -4 times 8. And we are ready to crunch in our calculators. Pick up your calculator. -1 times 4 plus 5 times 6 is 26. -1 times -3 plus 5 times 8 is 43. 5 times 4 plus 2 times 6 is 32. 5 times -3 plus 2 times 8 is going to give you a 1 in the calculator. 0 times 4 plus -4 times 6 is -24 in the calculator. And finally, 0 times -3 plus -4 times 8 is -32. It's not meant to be challenging, but there is some tougher problems here. All right, so let's move on. These are a little more challenging. We're going to, there's 4 problems total. I think we're just going to do these first 2 because they are much more challenging than what I would expect on your practice. Now, these are the challenge ones. So if you decide you want to do parts C and D of example 4, you can show them to me and I'll check in class, but we're just going to do A and B. So these are back to those fill in the blank problems. So let's go ahead and fill in our matrices. So we have 2, -2, 1, and 4. Now notice, if there's parentheses, make sure you're writing them. Parentheses. We got a B matrix plus the C matrix. Well, now the question becomes, what comes first? Because I see a matrix outside, but I see parentheses and I see some matrices inside. Well, if you remember PEMDAS, P always stands for parentheses. So we're going to do inside the parentheses first. So we're doing this part of it. Well, that part is just an addition problem. So all you got to do is keep the first matrix the same, don't change it, Don't forget about it. And add these. 0 plus 0 is 0. 1 plus 3 is 4. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. And negative 2 plus negative 1 is negative 3. That was the easy part. Now we got to make sure that we can do the problem, because parentheses also mean multiplication. This is a multiplication problem. 2 rows by 2 columns. 2 rows by 2 columns. So, do they match? Yes, and the answer has 2 rows and 2 columns. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Now let's get into our colors. Top row, first column. So top left, right here. 2 times 0 plus negative 2 times negative 1. New color. Top right. So moving over here. 2 times 4 plus negative 2 times negative 3. New color. Moving back down to the bottom. So bottom left, 1 times 0 plus 4 times negative 1. And finally, bottom right, 1 times 4 plus 4 times negative 3. Let's use our calculators now, because this is the easy part. This is just getting the answers. 2 times 0 plus negative 2 times negative 1. Your calculator should tell you 2. 2 times 4 plus negative 2 times negative 6. Your calculator should tell you 14. 1 times 0 plus 4 times negative 1. Your calculator should tell you negative 4. And 1 times 4 plus 4 times negative 3. Your calculator should tell you negative 8. All right, so let's look at one more together. And then I would definitely suggest doing some practice. Okay, let's write down the original problems. When A and B are next to each other, and A and C are next to each other, that means multiplication. So, 2 times, whoops, don't mean times in there. I'm doing some copying errors here. 2, negative 2, 1, and 4, times B is 0 and 1 and negative 3 and negative 2. We got an addition problem, but we all know multiplication comes before addition. We got A again, 2, negative 2, 1, and 4, times C, 0, 3, 2, and negative 1. Okay, 2 big old multiplication problems. 2 rows, 2 columns, 2 rows, 2 columns. We can do it because those match. The answer is a 2 by 2. We might get a little cramped here on room. You know what? Let's just move all this over right now so that I don't get quite so cramped. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a little better. All right, so let's use our colors. Top row, left column. Top left is right here. 2 times 0 plus negative 2 times negative 3. New color. Top right, 2 times 1 plus negative 2 times negative 2. New color. Bottom left, 1 times 0, plus 4 times negative 3. And the last color here, bottom right, 1 times 1, plus 4 times negative 2. And let's see what the results were. So let's divide these problems. There we go. 2 times 0 plus negative 2 times negative 3 is 6 in your calculator. 2 times 1 plus negative 2 times negative 2 is also 6 in your calculator. 0 times 1 plus 4 times negative 3, your calculator will tell you is negative 12. And 1 times 1 plus 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. But we're not done with this problem. Whew, this is a long one. These are longer ones. Can you tell? Let's come over to this multiplication problem. 2 by 2 and 2 by 2. Yes, we can do it. The answer is a 2 by 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is really getting tight. Okay, colors. Top, left. 2 times 0 plus negative 2 times 2. Next color, top, right. 2 times 3 plus negative 2 times negative 1. Bottom left, 1 times 0 plus 4 times 2. And bottom right, 1 times 3 plus 4 times negative 1. So let's see what our calculator tells us to add to our first matrix. 2 times 0 plus negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. 2 times 3 plus negative 2 times negative 1, your calculator should tell you is 8. 1 times 0 plus 4 times 2, your calculator should tell you is 8. And 1 times 3 plus 4 times negative 1, your calculator should tell you is negative 1. Final answer. Now we have to add. 6 plus negative 4 is 2. 6 plus 8 is 14. Negative 12 plus 8 is negative 4. And negative 8 plus negative 1, I'm sorry, where did I get? Yeah, negative 8 plus negative 1 is negative 9. And we are done. So, we're going to stop there. We are not going to worry about those last two examples because they're challenging ones. I promise your homework is only these kind of problems. 2 matrices, that's it. So, hopefully you are ready to go. You can start your practice if you'd like to before class.